Okay, so I'm gonna start on page 24. We'll talk about interest and all kinds of different concepts that you need to know. So I have some highlighters ready to go. I think this unit is way more important than just knowing this for the exam. It is actually for life. And I'm sure your teachers in grade 11 talked about interest and the importance of paying things off as quick as possible, and perhaps maybe don't even go for a loan, right, if you can. So many people cannot afford to buy a vehicle outright, so they borrow money from a lending institution that's just a fancy word for banks, and they pay it over time. You need to understand that bank charges interest. I hope you understand that, right? That is basically their paycheck. That is their profit. That is how they make money. They make money off of interest, which is essentially their profit. Okay, so you have some definitions here. The total principal is the amount, I hope you can see this, all right, is the amount of loan, okay, you were given by the bank. This will need to be repaid in full, okay? We call, watch this is important right here. I'm going to use green. You use whatever you want. We call this loan or TP, total principal. So if you borrow $5,000 to buy that car, $5,000 is your total principal, or we quite often I'll refer to it as the loan. Total interest. This is the finance charge. Remember this term. Finance charge. That's another way to talk about interest. It's basically they're charging you money in order to finance it to you, to like spread it out. You can pay it off in a longer period of time. It's also known as the cost of borrowing. We call this TI. Page 24. And then the total paid to the bank is the sum of the total principal and the total interest. This is a very important statement right here. I will highlight that whole thing. Total paid to the bank is the total principal plus the total interest. So if you add these two up, that's what we consider total paid to the bank. So I will call this TPB, right? Total paid to the bank, because I don't want to write it out every single time. So when you borrow $5,000, you will never just pay back the $5,000. I hope you understand that. You'll pay back $5,000 and then some. Probably $6,000, probably $7,000, you name it. All right, keep going. So here it is again, total paid to the bank, which is that orange part. This is just a visual. A lot of you said, I like visuals when it comes to learning. I agree with you. Okay? It'll be this part. Right? Total principal is the green part. Whatever you used for this one, that's the color I use here. And the total interest is that part. And if you like, it's okay to actually highlight total interest and the total principal with the same color. It's okay. So I want you to understand that those are added together. Next, your monthly payment. So now we're going to zoom into just payments, the small amounts that you're paying on a regular basis. This course, to be honest, only deals with monthly payments. But we all know that there are bi-weekly payments, weekly payments, semi-monthly, all of those different kinds of payments. But we're just sticking with monthly. Okay, monthly payment. Your bank will determine the monthly payment, which stays fixed until the loan is repaid in full. I don't know if you knew this, but when you sign that contract with the bank, it doesn't matter what happens in the market. If the interest rate goes up or down, you're stuck with that interest rate that you agreed upon at that time. Yes, there are sometimes you can keep it open, variable, whatever, but for this course, we're locked in. Okay. The payment is blended, which means that part of it is interest and part of it is principal. I'm going to use a different color. What haven't I used yet? The payment is blended, which means part of it is interest, part of it is principal. That's very important to understand. See the illustration below. To distinguish, the monthly principal is called P lowercase, and the total interest or the monthly interest is just called lowercase I. So if you go to that chart over here, this is lowercase p, this chunk of your payment, and then there's a chunk of it that is called I lowercase I. Okay. So here we go. This is what I was trying to do with this, okay? I'm not going to highlight anything here because that might actually complicate things, but every single payment that you come up with, let's say it's $300 a month, it could be that 280 of it, watch where my finger, I'm just use my pencil, let's say 350, so what did I say? $300 payment, let's say $250 will go towards actually paying off what you owe them, and a portion of that payment goes towards the interest that they're collecting. Okay, so there is a relationship between these two, but this is the total you paid for the car at the end, and this is just zooming into one payment. Okay. Next, some other concepts here before we dive in. Trust me, there's a math part coming. Just hang in there. Term is the amount of time it takes to pay off the loan. Most banks will allow up to 5 years for used vehicles and up to 7 years for new vehicles. Can you write down? I will write down another term for it. Amortization period. That's another word, another term associated with term. Another term for term. Fancy there, right? So amortization period is another word for the term. Okay. Interest rate, R. The bank will charge a posted interest rate, which is stated as a percentage. We convert this to a decimal by dividing it by 100. I don't think that's news to any of you. But I will just say, just to make sure you understand, we don't use that. We will divide that by 100 and always use the decimal version of it. Okay. We're good there. And I will talk more about this later on. So page 25 is me going on a rant, and I'll save you the rant for today, okay? Because I'm quite passionate when it comes to finances. And so I will break down, like I will actually talk about a specific example and how much money you could be saving and how much money goes to interest and all that. So we'll skip 25 for now, okay? I know you won't be able to, you'll have a hard time sleeping now because you're looking forward to that one. That's okay, we'll get to it. I know you're not. Let's go to 27 where the formulas are. And the reason I don't just give them all to you on this one, go ahead, is because I want you to understand the formulas. I don't want you to just have them on your piece of paper. Okay? So to figure out the loan, These should be on your study sheet tomorrow for sure. You take the price of the car minus any down payment. The down payment, obviously, right? You would say, well, I need $10,000 for the car. I have 2,000 saved. So 10,000 minus 2,000, you need to borrow 8 grand, right? That would be your loan. So we always take away the down payment from the price. Monthly payment. You ready for this one? Payment, to figure out your payment, this is going to remind you of grade 11 a little bit. You take the price minus the down, and you're like, Mr. Jackson, didn't you just say that here? Yes, these are the exact same thing. This chunk right here is what I refer to as the loan. Okay, so make sure you write it down exactly the way I have it here. All of this gets multiplied. This is a bigger bracket like this. Okay, it's going to be a table rate divided by 1,000. I will make a note now because I learned that this last exam that students just wrote, that this part right here may be given by question. You may not have to look it up on a table. So most of the time it is from a table that we get this number, but sometimes the question just flat out tells you what it is. Okay, so remember that. I will always give you that table. So if there is no table, it's in the question, right? If there is a table, you're gonna see it somewhere on that piece of paper. Okay. Total paid to the bank. To figure out total paid to the bank, we go payment multiplied by 12 months. It's always 12 months because these are monthly payments, okay? And then that would be multiplied by the number of years. That's how you figure out how much you paid the bank over that loan. I'm going to say this. When it says total paid to the bank, this is over lifetime, over the life of the loan. Maybe write that down because sometimes students are thrown off like, what does that mean? How much interest was, or how much did you pay the bank over the life of the loan? And so this is the total paid over the entire loan to the bank, of course. Total interest on the loan, I call that TI. And I'm essentially going to copy what I did up here. Watch this. I'm going to go payment times 12 months times number of years. Lots of formulas, I know, but these are exactly the same for home finance. So we're going to double dip, okay? Payment times 12 months times the number of years minus the loan, right? This is like the total principal. And I will make sure to highlight loan up here because quite often you will already have calculated the loan beforehand. And so that's what comes back in here. There's the connection. Almost done. Interest paid on the first month. I'm going to highlight the first month part because that's a key word. First month and first month. I'm going to use lowercase I with this one. You remember I equals PRT in grade 11? Yeah, this is what I used to derive this formula right here. So to find the interest on just the first month, it's not the total interest, it's just the very first month. We will go like this. We'll go loan, put that in brackets. We're going to take our interest rate, divided by 100. And all of this will be divided by 12 because you're just figuring out how much interest you paid just that very first month. And then the principal paid on the first month is lowercase p. And all you will have to do is take your payment that you've already calculated up there, and you will subtract the interest portion on that first payment. So whatever you calculate, you're going to subtract that from your payment and get lowercase p. Total paid for the car, including, this would be down plus total paid to the bank. Go ahead. So I call this TPC. Obviously, you take your down. And what's the formula for total paid to the bank again? Go up here. It's right here where my finger is. Right up here. I'm just going to copy this part down. Payment times 12 months times number of years. And I really hope you copied this down exactly the way it is here. And when you practice these, that's when you're going to figure out whether or not you did them right, you copied them right. Can I just point out one thing that I see students mix up all the time? I'm going to use pencil. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. It's these two here, the table rate and the interest rate. That's what students, they think they're the same, but this is from a table normally, and it's over 1,000. And then there's the interest rate divided by 100. So this will be as a percentage. This interest rate will be stated as a percentage, where this is per 1,000. Now, let's go look at the table real quick. It's on page 32 according to this. I'm not sure if that shifted because I make changes. I'm notorious for making changes. Oh no, it's still on 32. Look at this table. You're never going to get this whole thing. Like I usually just take a snapshot of a smaller version of this. I just want you to be familiar with this table. I know you've seen it in grade 11 most likely, unless you were like sleeping in class that day. You were tired. So this is the personal loan. So monthly payment, watch what it says here. Monthly payment per $1,000 of loan, right? Highlight that part on page 32. And it says principal plus interest. You know what that also means? It means blended. You can write down the word blended. Blending, right? Blended means like principal and interest are just combined into that payment. And so what do you need to, you just need to grab one number from this table. So you need the interest rate and you need the number of years, the term, right? If you match two, so let's say you got a loan for 7% over 5 years, you just go over to year number 5 up here. So you would be paying 1981 what for every $1,000 of loan. Okay. So that's what we're going to use for loans for calculating payments. Let's do a question, shall we? I know it might be a little overwhelming at first. Don't fear it too much. We're going to practice today and tomorrow. You just have to promise to stay in there, stay engaged, and we'll do one question. There's no down payment on this one. Heads up, right? So it says you need to borrow a total of $31,500. You need to borrow, right? So the purchase already happened, guys. The taxes were already added. We don't have to worry about that in this case. It's a 5-year loan, that's important. And the loan rate is 3.5 per year. There's no down payment. Calculate the following. Monthly payment. So the payment, I'm going to write down the formula, is the price minus down times table rate per $1,000 of loan. That's how you calculate the payment. So you would look at it on your study sheet. You look at the price of this car, $31,500. There is no down. I can't stress that enough. There is no down here, so don't worry about it. I'm actually going to go minus 0 there. And what's the table rate? You got to match 5 years and 3.5%. So go ahead and do that. I made a small copy of it. 3.5% meets 5 years, and that's 1819 right there. You can circle that. So that's the number we're going to get from here. 1819 per, write down per $1,000 actually. Like it's $18.19, $18.19 for every $1,000 you borrow. That's what you're figuring out here. So that's 31,500 times 1819 divided by 1,000. And now you need to grab your calculator. And all you do here is take 31,500, multiply it by 1819 by the numerator, and then hit divide by 1,000. You can do it all in one shot because when it comes to bed mass, multiplication and division, there's really no priority there. You should be getting this number, 572.98 or 99? 99, because the 5 bumps it. So here we go. That's my final answer. That's what you're going to be paying every month for this loan. And it's a little off, to be honest, a few cents. You might be off compared to a calculator online, but it's pretty close. Let's keep answering based on this. What's the total amount paid back to the bank in 5 years? If you had to pick a formula, which one would you pick for this one? Total paid to the bank, yeah, which is payment times 12. It's always 12 months, by the way, times the number of years. It's, in this case, 5. So we go 572.99 times 12 times 5. If you think about it, 5 times 12 is 60, right? So 60 payments of 572.99. That's essentially how much you will have paid the bank. So 572.99 times 12 times 5. You can do it all in one shot. And there it is. Does that surprise you? A loan of $31,500 over 5 years, chances are, right, you're going to pay back about a couple grand more than that. It depends on your interest rate. 0.4. What's wrong with that? It needs to 0. Yeah. If you want full marks. So this is the amount that includes the total principal plus the total interest. Just so you know, right? The 31,500 is in here plus the interest that they charged you. Crazy, isn't it? It's a lot of money. Now you know why they're doing so well. Okay? They have thousands of loans out there. Okay. If the total, what is the total interest paid on the loan? The total interest. Here you go. Total interest. I'm going to state the whole formula as I have it. It's actually PMT times 12 months times the number of years. Wait a minute, didn't we just calculate that? Yes, we did. Right? You take what you paid them, you subtract the loan from it. So I'm gonna go through the motions again. I'm gonna pretend like this question B never happened. Okay. What's the loan? Where would you get it from? If you look at my notes, it's actually this number here after you take away the down payment. This is the loan. Let's go and write up loan here. Nice and big. This is the loan. So the loan is 31,500. That's what you borrowed from the bank. So I'm just going to copy this answer here. 34,379.40 minus 31,500. Let's go ahead and figure that out. We subtract those two, we get 2879.40. $2879.40. I don't really care about the commas, guys. Don't do commas because sometimes you mix them up with decimals. Just the decimal. That's all I care about. I know the calculators always have them there. So there we go. That's your interest paid. What do we call this? Interest and finance charge. That's the same thing as finance charge. Okay. We're almost done. The amount of interest and principal paid on the first month's payment only. What's the key word here? Because sometimes you're going to ask, is it asking for TI, total interest, or is it just asking for lowercase I? And here's the key word, the key words that give it away. It's lowercase I. First month was how much interest and how much principal. We're going to do the interest first. That's the one you should calculate first. It calls for loan interest rate divided by 100. All of that divided by 12. Hang in there, guys. We're almost done. Okay. So my loan here is 31,500. We're going to go and highlight loan later on. I'm going to go everywhere we use the loan and kind of just make sure we understand where that comes from. What's my interest rate? 3.5%, correct? Not 18.19, okay? It's not that one. It's the so watch what I'm going to do here. 3.5% divided by 100. All of that divided by 12. So that's 31,500. 3.5 divided by 100 is this. Do not round. Okay? Do not round. Just leave it as is. So we go 31,500 times 0.035. 0.035. 0.035 divided by 100. 100 divided by 100 is 0.035. 0.035 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 divided by 100 is 0.035. 0.0 That's 1102.50. We want to divide that by 12. 91.88. Okay, so my first payment this is lowercase I. So my first payment of what is it, $572.99? The bank will take almost $100 of that and say thank you very much. It goes in their pocket. You never see it again. This happens in the background. Last but not least, lowercase p. We take our payment, we subtract I from it. 572.99 minus 91.88. I don't have that on my key, sorry. So I'm gonna have to redo it. 572.99 minus 91.88. 481.11. These two combined always give you your payment, okay? Your payment always has a principal portion. This goes towards paying off your loan, and this goes in their pocket, okay? They always add up to your payment every single month. All right, this is what I'm gonna say for tomorrow. I'm not gonna assign any homework. The only homework I'm gonna assign is you copy down the finance formulas onto your study sheet. That's the only homework that I have for you. And if you kind of lost track on what we were doing here, maybe rewatch the lesson, right?